Okay.
Madam Recording Secretary, again, do we have counsel? Is Mr. Hodge available?
Yes, he is joining in right now.
Okay, should we just wait? Oh, there he is.
Yes.
Perfect. Mr. Hodge. We're gonna go ahead and begin this meeting. This is a regular meeting of the Community Development Commission. Today is Wednesday, July 28th, 2021. Madam Recording Secretary, can you please take roll?
Commissioner Afusia,
Here.
Commissioner Covington,
Here.
Commissioner Frazier, Commissioner Vasquez, Commissioner Torres,
Here.
Commissioner Ingle,
Here.
Commissioner Martinez,
Here.
Commissioner Santana,
Present.
Commissioner Oliva.
Here.
Thank you. We have quorum.
Thank you, Madam Recording Secretary. So just for the record, we have one absent, which would be our senior tenant, Mr. Gilbert Vasquez, and we're waiting for our tenant, Mr. Vince Frazier. Hopefully he can join us and later on down the meeting. Seeing quorum, this meeting is officially called to order. I would like to see if Mrs. Torres can lead us to the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Torres. All right, guys, happy Wednesday. Today is the 28th. At this time, we're gonna move on to public comments. This is a time where the members of the public may address the Community Development Commission regarding any non-agenda items within the subject matters of the jurisdiction of this committee. No actions will be taken on non-agenda items unless authorized by law. Does the public have any comments they wish to share? Madam Recording Secretary, do we have any comments or anyone on the queue seeking to speak to the commission?
No, we do not have anyone for public comments.
Great, thank you. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comments. We're gonna move on to the consent calendar. This is a time for the commission to consider the matters of under the consent calendar, items 1 through 7. Do I have a motion to consider items 1 through 7?
Let's move it.
Thank you, Mr. Winston. Do I have a second?
I second.
Second by who?
Commissioner Oliva.
Thank you, Ms. Oliva. All right. Can you, Madam Recording Secretary, can you please take roll?
Commissioner Afusia,
Present.
when I call your name, just say aye, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Covington,
Aye.
Commissioner Torres,
Aye.
Commissioner Le,
Aye.
Commissioner Martinez,
Aye.
Commissioner Santana,
Aye.
Commissioner Oliva.
Aye.
Thank you.
Awesome. That was approved 7 votes. Or unanimously approved. We're gonna move on to the business calendar. We'll now consider matters under the business calendars. The first item on the business calendar is items number 8. Well, hold on. I apologize. Let me go back. Can I amend and pull an item to be discussed?
Mr. Santana,
Yes.
I don't believe that the tenant representative was called during roll.
Thank you, Mr.
Frazier,
We
yes.
didn't see you on.
I apologize for that. It's because at the beginning, I marked you absent when I was taking roll call, but I will make sure that you have your vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Frazier, for joining us. I went ahead and jumped the gun. I really wanted to pull 2 items. I wanted to pull item number 6 and item number 7. Is it too late to go back and amend?
No, you can go back on those items if it's just that you would like to ask some questions or hear the presentation, or if there's a presentation, you can ask staff to do that. If you'd like to re-vote on that item, then you would need to make a motion, have a second on that, and there'd need to be a vote on a motion to reconsider.
Okay, I just wanted to do a motion to reconsider. I have a couple questions on the the presentation or the staff report that's provided to us. Can I get a motion to reconsider?
I'll make a motion to reconsider.
Thank you, Ms.
second
Martinez. Thank you, Mr. Winston. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed? None. Okay, thank you. So going back to item number 6, we're on the agenda item, which is 2 seconds, guys. Promise you I was somewhat organized today. Which is a housing and voucher program. My question was, it's something that's come up in the past, which is HQS inspections. It's been an issue in the past, and I see that there is 33 inspections that were failed. Out of those 33 inspections, Mr. Brown, how many of those have been able to go ahead and have been approved? And it's item, let me see, item number 6, page number 18.
Of course, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to members of the commission. So I'm actually joined here by Jackie Hull, our Housing Authority Operations Supervisor, who will be able to provide more detail into those 33 failed inspections. But I do want to note that that when the inspection fails, it does not mean that the tenant loses their assistance. We continue assisting the family in that assisted unit until the landlord corrects the deficiencies that we've identified during our inspection. And Jackie, I'll hand it off to you.
Ms. Hull, what would be some good examples of a failed inspection?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the questions. Our typical dependence on the fail item, sometimes it's a family's fails. We have 2 different types. One is a family fail, which is meaning the family cause. And then the other one is more of the owner responsibilities. You know, housekeeping is typically a family fail, like cleaning maintaining the unit, the bathroom, the kitchen. So those are typical fails for the family.
We're having a bad connection. I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time understanding what you're saying, Ms. Hull.
Let me, hold on a second. Let me. I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Much better. Thank you.
Better, okay. So typical the family fail, typically housekeeping, you know, maintaining the unit, those are cleanings, health and safety issues, double keyed lock on the door. Those are typically family fail. And we do work with the family to clear those issues before the 30 days. You know, we go, once a unit fail inspection, we talk to the family, we assist them with how to correct the, you know, the repairs, the action need to be taken. And within 2 weeks, we'll go back out again to double check the fail items. And the family always correct the you know, the repairs, the issues.
So out of the 33 inspections, those have been overturned. They've been approved.
Yes. They pass at the re-inspection.
And then how would someone be disqualified from the housing choice voucher program? Because I've heard that's been an issue in the past with landlords being overly aggressive to tenants, and they use that as kind of like if you you know, I don't know, you're too loud or something happens, like we'll go ahead and call the city and try to find a way to disqualify that participant or that from being part of the house voucher program.
So it's the landlord, you know, there's 2 different ways. So the landlord has a lease with the client, you know, they have a lease rental agreement. So on the lease, there are certain terms that the tenant have to abide by. And those are typically between the tenant and the landlord. And anytime there's lease violations, we always been notified either by the tenant or by the landlord, and we will work with the tenant and the owner to clear those lease violations. If, you know, for some reason the lease violation is not clear, then of course, you know, we look at it. Is a violation that's severe enough to the point where we propose termination. So not all lease violation lead to termination of housing assistance.
I understand that, but in our community, there tends to be this, and it's not speaking in a specific case, but where the landlord has abused their powers over, tenants' rights and stuff like that. And so, is there an appeal process
Yes,
for
yes.
someone who
So-
is being terminated from the housing voucher program?
Yes, so anytime if we're looking at the owner issued the notice to move to the tenant, if there is a reason on there, they put a reason on there. We do talk to the owner, we do talk to the tenant and to see if we can resolve the issue. If we feel that is not justifiable, we refer the client to fair housing. We assist them with that process to get them over to the fair housing office so that the fair housing office can assist them to resolve.
So the
issue.
city will try to mitigate between the landlord and the tenant. And if you guys can't come to an agreement, then you send them to the fair housing? And
we
how long
recommend the tenant.
until they're at the fair housing that they can find their new apartment or new place to live?
While they work with fair housing, we issue them a voucher to start looking for a new unit until they resolve the issue through fair housing, depending on what the issue is.
Okay, I just want to make sure that those systems are in place and the city is actively helping two parties come together. Because I've known that in the past, during a previous commission, that was something that kept coming up, and the numbers look okay. I mean, 33 is not bad, but I also want to make sure that tenants know their rights and they know that there is an appeal process and fix stuff. Does the commission have any other questions on item number 6? Go ahead, Mrs. Martinez.
Thank you. And thank you for bringing this up. I just if you want to ask some other questions. I was wondering how more spaces become available for tenants. So is it as applicants and participants just drop out of the program and then a new space opens, or do we get more funding to be able to add more people onto the program? Or like, how can somebody expect to have more space for new applicants?
Yes, so I think there's a couple factors that play into that, and I think one of them you mentioned. So it's the funding, of course, the funding availability. So that would be the major, criteria for us. And then also as a family on the program, exit the program for various reasons, then that leaving a voucher, an available voucher for us to reissue to the family. And then after we get more funding from HUD, then we would be able to issue more voucher to assist more families.
Okay, thank you. And my second question, I'm under the impression that when we do inspections in these units, it's more for the safety of the tenant. That's just my experience in this type of compliance work, but I've never done it for a housing authority. So is that correct that we're checking for the safety of the tenant and that the landlord would be responsible for the upkeep of the unit and the safety of the tenant? Is that correct?
So when we do inspections, I do have a standard that we follow, and we follow a few that by city code also. We look over, of course, the safety of the tenant is always our number one concern. So yes, we do look at the safety for the tenant, for the unit, to see the unit, just make sure that everything is in working condition. We're not paying on a unit with, broken amenities, missing amenities. So our purpose here is to protect the families. That's our first commitment and priority is to the families.
Okay, so if there was a finding in a unit that, I don't know, the smoke detector wasn't working, a notice would be issued to the landlord so that they could fix it within a certain amount of time. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and then if the landlord does not get that fixed, what are the repercussions? Do we just stop the payment towards the landlord, or what happens, and how does the city ensure that the landlord take care of that?
Yes, so there is HUD regulation on that item. So if the housing authority determine it is the landlord responsibility to do the corrections, and if the landlord, so typically the landlord has 30 days to make any kind of corrective action. So if once we go out, we determine the item, the unit needs correction, and then we determine it is the landlord responsibility. We notify the landlord, we work with them to get them, repair the item as soon as possible. They have up to 30 days, depending on the item. Sometimes they require, ordering the item from Home Depot, customized item. So depending on what it is, they may request an extension beyond 30 days. But most of the time, I would tell you 99% of the time, the owner will correct it within 30 days. And yes, if they don't correct it within 30 days and they're not asking for an extension to order the item, we would stop the half payment.
Would that affect the tenant in any way, or can they still continue to live in the unit? It's just that portion of the payment would not be available for the landlord.
That would not affect the tenant at all.
Okay.
The tenant will continue to pay their portion, and then we will withhold the half, and we will work with the landlord to get them to repair the items.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. Any other commissioner? See none. I just have one more question because I think you raised a good question, Ms. Martinez. When someone exits the program because of income, that voucher becomes available. I know there's the city pays, or it's the HAP, which is the housing assistance payment. Average cost is $1,305. The tenants pay the difference. However, I was looking at the pool of numbers in July of 2015. The registration opened for 30 days. For those 30 days, the city has gathered roughly 16,375 applications. As of June 30th, according to staff report, there is a total of 1,749 applications still on the waiting list from the 2015 HCV wait list. So does that mean that roughly 15,000 and change have moved or have no longer are qualified for housing? Can someone report or answer that question? I'm just kind of curious. It seems that's a big drop.
Mr. Santana?
Yes, Mr. Frazier.
They also pulled a lottery for 6,000 names that year as well, and they started working on those 6,000 names first. That was when I got my housing voucher.
I get that, but I'm just reading off on page 16. If maybe I'm misunderstanding this, but we have pending 1,749 applications from 2015. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as you read there in our report, and as you stated, we had 16,375 applicants apply when we opened up the waiting list the last time from July 1st to July 30th, 2015. Now, what we note in that paragraph is of those 16,375, we only accepted 5,000 applications, and we conducted then through a lottery process. And so we reduced it down from 16,375 down to 5,000. And so since that time, we've now gone through over 3,251 applicants on the waiting list. And the process by which we go through those applicants and issue vouchers is, well, it starts with, on a monthly basis, we review our funding availability. We use something called HUD's 2-year forecasting tool, which it forecasts out how much funding we currently have available and how much we're projected to have available based on our per unit cost, based on our annual budget authority, based on our attrition rate. It's on several different variables, and we review that data on a monthly basis. And
I get that. I'm not sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Brown, but from the 11,000 who did not make it to your condensed 5,000 list, like what happened? Is it because the lottery that shrunk that number, or because, I mean, what happens to those 11,000 applicants who applied?
We did not, we notified them that they were not selected as part of the lottery process.
What was the criteria for them not being accepted? And this is going way back. I'm just curious because now I'm opening another door, but I'm just curious if, because I mean, housing continues to be an issue. And I know that, have we opened for more applicants, or is this still closed?
Sure. So let me address your question because it is an important one. So regarding the applicants who were not selected, back in 2015, we created a lottery process. So let me see here.
So they were eligible, but just not selected through your lottery process.
Right. They were not, well, it wasn't a question of whether or not they were eligible or not, but we went through a written methodology and followed a written methodology to sort all of the applications first by those applicants who applied as individuals who work or live in the city of Santa Ana. And so the 16,375 was sorted based on those applicants who verified that they live or work in our city. So our residents, right? Santa Ana residents. And so of that 16,375, it went down to about 8,500 who actually certified on their pre-application that they live or work in our city. And then of those 8,500 who live or work in our city, we then, again, through a lottery process, a completely random lottery process, we sorted everybody and reduced and only took the top 5,000 applicants. And we followed a written lottery and selection methodology that we would be glad to provide to anybody who requests it.
I would like if you can send that to me. And also, has it been open since 2015 or has it been closed?
Yep. So the waiting list was only open from July 1st, 2015 to July 30th for all applicants to apply. However, after that date, we did continue to receive applications from veterans and allow veterans to apply, U.S. military veterans. And we did stop accepting applications from U.S. military veterans last year when we transitioned to a new software system.
Okay. And maybe we can talk about this more later. We'll probably bring it back to the commission because I know that with this new administration, they're seeing more funding coming down from HUD and maybe, there's been an explosion of new developments that are opening. So I would like to bring this back item. Does anyone else have a commission? I can just move this item forward to the next item.
Got a quick question for.
Go ahead, Mr. Lee.
Do we have any selection process for young adult with disability, special need adult that they want to be independent, and they want to look for housing? Do we have some sort of process for that?
Thank you, Commissioner Lake. We do not have a preference for adults with a person with a disability. Our preferences are for U.S. military veterans first, and then those who live or work in our city second. And then we also have a preference that 50% of our turnover vouchers go and are dedicated for people experiencing homelessness.
Mr. Lee, to answer your question, I think we have about 68% of participants with the voucher program who are either elderly or disabled. So that's a good thing. It's a positive, factoid that we have seniors and disabled people with disability who are being housed in this voucher program. So, okay, great. Anyone else? I'm going to move on to the next item. All right, moving on to, do you have some, Mr. Roy? You're good? All right, awesome. Moving on to item number 7, which is going to be the Community Development Commission staff report. Question I had here was on page 22. And it's called the in lieu fees generated. Can you, Mr. Brown, just roughly quickly talk about what an in lieu fee is for the new commissioners that have been here with us for a while or haven't been?
Of course, yeah. So in lieu fees are generated through our housing opportunity ordinance. Our housing opportunity ordinance is also known as an inclusionary housing ordinance that requires a developer that when they trigger the ordinance to develop at least 15% of their units on site for low-income families or 10% of the units on site for very low-income families. Now, developers have the option to opt out or pay a fee in lieu fee, right, of developing those units on site. And so most developers opt out of developing the units on site, the affordable housing units on site, and they pay this fee in lieu of developing the units on site. And that's the in lieu fee that you're seeing there. And those in lieu fees are deposited into our inclusionary housing fund. That's dictated by the eligible uses of the inclusionary housing fund are stated in the ordinance itself, and then subject to allocation through our affordable housing funds policies and procedures that were adopted by City Council in March 2008.
Great. And so on the staff report, it shows that we generated roughly about 21 million in lieu fee. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
That's a really big number. That's telling us that developers are willing to opt out from providing affordable housing and pay in lieu fee. And if you read the staff report a little further, it says the funds generate 21,510,127 to be used for development and housing, just what you said, with a reasonable amount of money spent on administrative or related expenses associated with administrative housing ordinance. So on the next page, page 23, it looks like out of the $21 million that we have collected, we have only used 12 million, 12.5 million, 12.6 million. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. We've
that money went to the Santa Art Collective, Tynington Plaza, the Link, which is the shelter, Habitat for Humanity, Westview Houses, Wise Place, and down payment assistance, which leaves us a balance of 8.9 million. And that is that balance of 8.9 million that we have not used, have that all gone to administrative fees or administrative expenses?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the inclusionary housing funds, the use of those inclusionary housing funds, as you're pointing out, is provided on page 23 and broken down on page 23. The remaining balance of the funds is actually on page 27. If you turn,
I see the breakdowns. Okay.
If you turn your attention to page 27, you see that we currently have $10.4 million of cash on hand. That's
Right.
liquid cash in our bank account.
Yep.
210,000 is allocated and dedicated to our down payment assistance program. 231,000 is committed to our Lacey Street project by Habitat for Humanity. And I will note that the Lacey Street project, this balance is as of March 31st, and the Lacey Street project was awarded an additional $300,000 for their project. So that's not reflected there, but that is just a side note. And then $1.5 million is committed to the development of the Westview House project that was approved and recommended by the commission, I believe in February or March last year. And then the 70,000 for Wise Place. And then we have 2 million allocated for administrative costs allowed.
Give me 1 second. Okay. So that's good. I mean, so on the bottom of the breakdown, it says total funds available is 8.9. But then on the top, when it says inclusion, so we're using the 6 out of the 8.
So we have $6.3 million in available inclusionary housing funds right now to commit to future projects through our via our affordable housing funds policies and procedures.
Okay. All right. Well, that makes sense. I wish this exhibit was closer to page 23. I should have put more back. However, one last question is the link. The link is, do we get reimbursed by the county for the amount of money we're spending for the homeless shelter?
In regards to the $4.1 million that has been spent on the link, the county did not reimburse us for those funds.
Are we seeking reimbursement?
Ryan? You there?
Yes, I'm here. There is no specific reimbursement agreement in place between the county and the city for homeless services. So, the city is making those contributions in order to, provide those services for the homeless account that's specific to the city of Santa Ana. And then the county has also contributed, significant funds to, their own shelter and other issues countywide. But there's no specific agreement between city and county for reimbursement of any of those funds.
Okay, that was just a question. I know people always talk about it and the money's already been spent. So it's just good to know. Okay, I'm gonna open up to any other commissioners who may have any questions on item number 7, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead, Ms. Martinez.
Thank you. I have a couple questions also on the housing opportunity ordinance. So we're talking about the in lieu fees and how much money the city has collected on those. And it's a pretty significant number, 21.5 million. I was at the last council meeting and there were a lot of conversations about how much money was generated through those in lieu fees. And I don't know if everybody knows, but the in lieu fee rate was actually decreased from $15 to $5. And there was a lot of conversation from multiple council members saying, well, there was no money generated at the $15 per square foot rate. So I was kind of under the impression that there was no other money generated outside of the 3.7 million that was generated at the $5 per square foot rate, which is what we currently have. But since we had 21.5 and 3.7 of those were generated by the $5 per square foot rate, that means that 17.8 of those $1 million were generated before that. And I'm curious to know at what rate those $17.8 million were generated, just because there's a lot of conversations about potentially increasing that fee. And so I just kind of want to know what that looked like before.
Great question. Thank you, Commissioner Martinez. That statement and that is true, that no developer paid the fee of $15 per square foot. But what as you're pointing out, developers still paid an in lieu fee over the last 5 years, which has generated the inclusionary housing funds that you see in that account. And so what we have, hold on here, pulling up another document. So most developers, in fact, the amount is $15.8 million in fees from 10 different projects, one of which was developed in 3 different phases. So 10 projects, but 7 distinct projects, if that makes sense. Paid an in lieu fee amount of $9.35 per square foot. And that generated $15.8 million between fiscal year 2015 and fiscal year 2020. So over the last 5-year period. So the developers did pay an in lieu fee during that time for projects that were pulling their building permits. And those projects were called pipeline projects. There was a paragraph in the ordinance that before it was amended in September 2020, there was a paragraph in the ordinance called referring to pipeline projects. And these pipeline projects paid an in lieu fee amount of $9.35 per square foot. And that generated $15.8 million in lieu.
Thank you. And the $15 per square, you're saying that no fees were paid. Was it because there were no projects that were proposed at the time, or was it just that they refused to pay it, or is there a particular reason why we think they didn't pay that fee?
Well, let me correct the first part of your statement, right? So no fees were paid. Again, fees were paid during the period, right?
Right.
But no developers paid the $15 per square foot. So you asked, is there a particular reason why they didn't pay the $15 per square foot? Was that your question?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a variety of reasons on why developers may not have paid the $15 per square foot. I don't have any facts for you on why developers didn't pay the $15 per square foot.
Okay.
During the period.
I understand. Thank you. And my second question is about the on-site development. Just kidding. Just kidding. I answered my own question. Thank you.
I have a question though. I mean, averagely, how many, you said it's 15%. How many units would that have been on a given project?
15% of the units on any given project?
Yep. What would be like the average amount of units?
I think what I hear you asking is if those projects that paid the in lieu fee had built on site, how many units would have been built on site? Is that what you're asking?
Correct.
Hold on. And Ryan, are we still within the bounds of the Housing Division quarterly report?
I mean, we can pull this item and put it on the agenda for more discussion down the road. I mean, if we're going too far and too deep, we can, to be safe, we can do that. I'm just curious.
No, I think, I mean, the discussion revolves around the in lieu fees that were included as part of the report that was presented. So I think we're okay to continue with this discussion. But if it starts to get too much into the technicalities of the housing opportunity ordinance that was discussed at the special city council meeting, that might be something to consider agendizing for a future meeting. But at the same time too, that is an ordinance that I believe falls under the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission and City Council. So I'm not sure that would be something for this commission. But as far as questions regarding those in lieu fees and how they're being utilized, I think that's absolutely appropriate to discuss now.
So in regards to the in lieu fees that were paid during the last 5 years and the units that would have been built on site, we ran an analysis last year in regards to the total rental units that were developed or are even under development in those projects. And there are 2,280 rental units that were built or are under construction through those projects. And when you multiply that times 15%, it gives you 342 affordable housing.
Okay, great. Thank you. We'll go ahead and move on to avoid the technicality stuff. And great, awesome. Anyone else have any questions before we move on to the next item?
I got a question.
Go ahead.
for the budget, the leftover budget of $6,300,000, what sort of plan to use that? I mean, is that going to be just, move on to the next year where all this housing can apply for to get a grant, or is that what it is?
Great question. So two things I want to note here. First is that $3.1 million of that $6.3 million was returned to the city in January by a developer by the name of National Core. National Core is developing the Legacy Square project, which is described for you on page 24. It's a 93-unit new construction project that just had their groundbreaking ceremony on July 8th. And Legacy Square had a commitment and of $3.1 million, and our city council actually approved their loan documents, and we wired the funds over to them. And then because of the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2021, the developer was able to generate more tax credit equity. And so they ended up returning the funds to us, declining our $3.1 million in funds. So that is one reason why you see such a unusually large balance in that account of $6.3 million. The other thing I want to say more directly in response to your question is, staff are currently working to recommend approval of an RFP for affordable housing development to City Council to hopefully issue by October 1st. We have had multiple competing projects and priorities, including our emergency rental assistance program and our emergency housing vouchers. But we are hoping to bring that item to City Council hopefully by the second meeting in September, such that we can issue that RFP on October 1st.
Got a follow-up question? So if the developer requests the fund, do we at the city request them they build in very low to low moderate income housing for the family, or we just kind of give them the money here, develop the the type of housing that we need in the city? Does it kind of go back to require them to build like low to moderate housing, like what we intend to do as lieu fees?
Great question. So the RFP has points, right, for the proposals that are submitting, and it has scoring. Those points are used to score the proposals that the city receives. As part of the last RFP process, we provided bonus points for projects that allocated 75% of their units for extremely low income households and large families. That is the plan, again, for staff to recommend that type of provision, again, such that proposals and projects that apply for our funds will be allocated and dedicating units for extremely low income households. And you see the outcome of that policy with the Westview House project, which includes 75% of the units for extremely low income households. But it is dictated what developers propose to the city. We have control to negotiate with those developers and say, hey, you've proposed a 100-unit project with for all moderate income households or something like that. We could come back and say, you know what, we want 50% of your units for extremely low income households and 20% of units for very low income households. We have that ability to negotiate with that landlord, but with the caveat that the landlord will, the developer, not landlord, the developer will also ask us for more money. So when you ask for deeper affordability, that's what it's called. You're requesting the developer to have deeper affordability on their units. The developer will come back and they'll ask you for more money to do that because they can't afford to finance that project based on their current financial.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. All right, so let's get back on track. I'm sorry for all these questions, but thank you for answering them, Mr. Brown, Ms. Hall, and Mr. Hodge. I'm gonna go ahead and put the item back. Do I have a motion to consider items 1 through 7?
Let's move it.
Awesome, thank you, Mr. Winston. Can I get a second?
I second.
And quick roll call?
Aye.
Sorry, one moment.
Unless you can prove it unanimously, does anyone?
Commissioner Santana,
Aye.
Commissioner Covington,
Aye.
Commissioner Lay,
Aye.
Commissioner Oliva,
Aye.
Commissioner Torres,
Aye.
Commissioner Martinez,
Aye.
Commissioner Fusia,
Aye.
Commissioner Frazier.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. The matter's been approved by 7. Thank you. Moving on to the business calendar, we will now consider matters under the business calendar. The first item on the business calendar is item number 8. It's election of vice chair for the Community Redevelopment Commission for the year 2021-2022 term. Go ahead and do now is gonna proceed with the election. We will not proceed with nominations for chairmanship. Are there any nominations if there's for the chairmanship?
I nominate Jennifer.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dang. Are there any nominations or anyone considering a chairmanship? If there are no further nominations, the nominations are now. I'm sorry, go
I
ahead.
nominate Chairman, Commissioner Oliva.
Okay, perfect. So it looks like Ms. Oliva, we're gonna go ahead and close the nomination. We have one person. And let's just go ahead and do roll because there's no point because no one else is thrown in the mix. So Mr. Dang Lee motion for Commissioner Oliva. And the chairmanship will take an effect August 1st, 2021. Is there a second? Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Winston. Madam Recording Secretary, can you please take roll?
Commissioner Santana,
Yes.
Commissioner Covington,
Aye.
Commissioner Lay,
Aye.
Commissioner Oliva,
Aye.
Commissioner Torres,
Aye.
Commissioner Martinez,
Aye.
Commissioner Fusia.
Aye.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Madam Recording Secretary. The votes have been tallied with 7 receiving the most nomination. With that, we have motion to elect Mrs. Oliva as the new chairman effective August 1st, 2021. Do I have any?
Point of order. Doesn't the tenant representative vote on chairman and vice chairman? Isn't that considered technically a housing issue because it's dealing with the commission itself?
Yes, I think that would be appropriate.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Frazier. The votes are 8. So do I have a second, Madam Recording Secretary? So that's all been taking place. So congratulations, Ms. Oliva, as a new chairman. We're gonna go ahead and we'll proceed to nominations for vice chair. Are there any nominations for vice chair?
I nominate Commissioner Santana.
Oh, thank you, Commissioner Oliva. Do we have any other nominations? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the nomination. I motion that Commissioner Santana be named the next vice chair effective August 1st, 2021. Can I get a second?
I second.
Thank you, Mr. Winston. Madam Recording Secretary, can you please take roll?
Commissioner Martinez,
Aye.
Commissioner Torres,
Aye.
Commissioner Oliva,
Aye.
Commissioner Santana,
Aye.
Commissioner Covington,
Aye.
Commissioner Lay,
Aye.
Commissioner Fusia,
Aye.
Commissioner Frazier.
Aye.
Thank you.
Great. The votes have been tallied with 8 receiving most nominations. With that, we have a motion to elect myself as a new vice chair effective August 1st, 2021. Do I have a second, madam?
I second.
Great. So I think we can do this unanimously. Can we all agree unanimously? Fantastic. Congratulations to myself. Congratulations to Mrs. Oliva. Very look forward for you taking on the helm, inspiring more women to get involved and do this. Great work. We're going to move back to the second item on the business calendar, which is item number 9, is to appoint Representative Historic Resource Commission for 2021-2022 term. Will staff please report on this matter?
Excuse me. Sorry, my throat. The Historic Resources Commission, they meet the first Thursday of every other month at 4:30. So last time Commissioner Frazier was our representative from this commission, and they're asking for a new commissioner, or if he gets nominated again, we can take votes, or you can nominate yourself or someone else, and just let me know.
Awesome. It looks like
Chair Santana, Commissioner Frazier raised his hand.
I see that.
I just had a really quick question in regards to this item. When I was nominated to sit on the Historical Resources Commission, I was really excited about it. But then we had a question as far as my term went, and then I was to kind of attend the commission meetings until a new tenant representative was found. But it doesn't look like that's going to be a very quick process. But I wasn't able to really serve on that Historical Resources Commission. So I would like to re-nominate for that.
Thank you, Mr. Frazier. And sorry you didn't get to serve. I am going to open it to anyone else who wants to self-nominate or someone nominate themselves.
Of course.
Do we have anyone else who's interested in serving in this capacity? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close it. Congratulations, Mr. Frazier. You have been appointed to represent the Historic Resource Commission for the 2020-2021 term. That's a shorter term, though. That's not the 21-22 terms. Is that a typo, or is that the term?
It's for 1
I
year.
think there's a typo there. Yeah, I get that. Okay, no worries. So do we need a vote? I think we're gonna vote. Can I get a second?
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Oliva. Chairman
I'm
Oliva.
sorry, who motioned?
Jennifer, Commissioner Oliva.
Who motioned and who second? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, motion. Typically it's Mr. Winston, but can I get a motion?
I motion.
Motion, can I get a second?
I'll second.
Correct. Well,
Thank you.
great. Thank you, Ms. Martinez. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Congratulations, Mr. Frazier. You have an 8 vote. Moving on to comments. Staff, does staff have any comments they wish to address the commission?
Yes, just a couple things here, Mr. Chairman. First, congratulations to our new chair, Chairwoman Oliva and Vice Chair Santana. Congratulations to you both. And congratulations to Commissioner Frazier on your appointment to the Historic Resources Commission. Regarding the Lead the Way training, thank you so much to those commissioners who have provided us with their certifications so far, our new commissioners, following their orientation process. We are still waiting to hear from Commissioner Lay and Commissioner Martinez. According to my notes, I haven't received your certifications. Have you guys completed the training yet?
I have.
Yeah. I can
Commissioner-
double check.
I can resend you the certification. I'm pretty sure I have it.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, if you could resend that to us, that would be great, so that we can I could see that with our records in case of an audit by HUD. Besides that, we have been extremely busy with our emergency rental assistance program. We are now issuing and dispersing over $500,000 a week in emergency rental assistance. And we are in the process, in the midst of executing agreements for 4 additional nonprofit organizations in order to double our capacity. So we are hopeful that by the end of September, we'll be dispersing hopefully over $1 million a week in emergency rental assistance. We are, however, trying to reach more applicants. We will be entering into an agreement here shortly to engage in more grassroots outreach and engagement to reach more families in the community. But we have, as we reported a couple weeks ago, we have enough assistance to pay off everybody's past due rent, 100% of the past due rent / rental arrears for anybody who's applied for our assistance so far. And we are trying to reach as many more applicants as possible to provide them with assistance as needed. Thank you to Commissioner Torres and Commissioner Lay for attending the grand opening of Casa Querencia. It was wonderful to see you both at the event. And a reminder for all the commissioners that next Friday is the grand opening for La Placita Cinco at let me see here, at 10, I'm sorry, next Thursday is the grand opening for La Placita Cinco at 10 a.m. And we hope to see you there. Let me know if you did not receive the invitation and I'll forward it over to you. We did ensure that the developer did send you that invitation. And besides that, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for your service as our chair, and we look forward to working with Chairwoman Oliva in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Brown, and thank you, city staff, for reassuring that emergency rental relief is coming, and we're all going to do our part to spread the word and encourage families. I just hope that the city finds creative ways to help folks with the documents, the scanning, and if it's not like we'll have computers or the capacity to do so. So we'll be glad to help in any capacity with that to help, enroll and get people into applying for these rental relief programs. I'm going to go ahead and open this to commission members who want to address the commission. I'm not going to read this whole script, but does anyone, you have 3 minutes if you'd like to address city staff.
I'll go.
Go ahead.
I want to just thank everyone for the opportunity to serve as the vice chairperson of this commission. Thank you. And I also want to thank the community development partners for inviting us to the grand openings of these important housing developments. And it's great to see the work that has been done come to fruition, and these important items that we vote on come into fruition. So I'm grateful for that. So thank you. And I encourage other commissioners to also attend if you can. I know some are probably during work, but if you're able to, it's great to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Torres. Do you have any other commissioners who'd like to address city staff? Go ahead, Mrs. Chairwoman Oliva.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you so much for everyone's vote of confidence, and I hope to be a great chairperson for the 21-22 year. So thank you.
Great. That being said, guys, it's been a fun little ride. We'll see you guys next month. Have a great rest of your evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye,
Good night, everyone.